And so we left the last program talking about how do we become fully convinced or fully persuaded, and we see the key here, the steps to take in Proverbs 4:20. And I know I taught this already, but to go over it twice is not too much. It's so important because this is what gets the doubt out, and this is what causes faith to grow. There's just no shortcut to this. And I said this before, but believing in healing is different than believing for healing. You can believe in exercise, but until you do the exercise, it's not going to benefit you in a real way. And so in order to trust the Word of God, stand on the Word of God, believe the Word of God, you've got to focus on it. And having heard it and agreeing with it is not enough. And I think this is where some people make the mistake of rushing through this process. They have not meditated or waited long enough for the Word to become real. They're trying to pray the prayer of faith when their symptoms and their problems are more real. They're more in tune with those things. They speak louder in their life than the Word of God. And so to reverse that, we consider not the symptoms, but we consider the Word of God. Proverbs 4:20 through 22. My son, attend to my words. That means give attention to the Word. Well, if I'm not going to focus on my problem, my symptoms, my illness, and research it and treat it and track it, what am I supposed to do? Give attention to the Word. Incline your ear to my sayings. Let them not depart from your eyes. Keep them in the midst of your heart. So it's a multi-level process. You are to give attention to it by listening to it, by looking at it, and by meditating or keeping it in the midst of your heart. Rather than holding the illness or the symptoms or the condition close to your heart, reject that, ignore that as much as possible, and embrace the Word, and let the Word speak, and think of God and His power and His glory. Go over these examples, which we will begin one by one. Go over these examples in the Bible where people received, where people were healed, where people left victoriously. Let those become real to you. See the woman with the issue of blood, the centurion's servant, the nobleman's son, the Jairus' daughter. See these people healed by the power of God, raised up by God, walking in health and strength, rejoicing in what God has done. Let those things become real to you. Let that be the video that constantly is going over in your heart and in your mind. Give attention to that Word. And this is something that we have to do for ourselves. And then, as I mentioned, and I want to cover this again as well, then the Word of God will do something for you. And I think this is something that is overlooked. People are just trying to weigh out the weight of their symptom, their problem, their diagnosis with the Word of God and what God said and the preaching they've heard. And they don't realize that when you give attention to the Word and you allow the Word of God over time, this may not happen in one day or 1 week. That's fine. A harvest, a crop is not planted and harvested in one day. But when you plant the Word of God in your heart and you water it, the Word grows and has the potential to prevail in your life. So let the Word do the work. You don't have to do this by willpower alone. A farmer doesn't produce a crop by willpower. He doesn't go to school and learn how a crop is produced and then go out and will it to be done in his own effort and his own strength. There are things that he does, and then there are other things that he cannot do. And if the seed doesn't do it, it just won't happen. And that's the case with the Word of God.